Good morning and welcome again to our dear students. I am here with another part of the Corona Render Engine training in 3ds Max. In this part, we want to talk a little about lights. Okay, in this Modify section, in the Create section, the third option here is Light. And in this drop-down, we can choose from different lights Corona. And the lights available to us in Corona are Corona Light or Corona Sun. And in the Corona Light section, we can choose Corona. We can name it, and also in the Corona Light section, we can specify various properties. Now this is what we will work with in this section, and we can determine its shape. Okay, now I'll switch the viewport to the 4-part view. In the light shape section, we have sphere, which is a spherical light. And when you select sphere, you can increase or decrease its radius and change its segments, although the segments won't have a significant impact. And you can also go to the color section and set its color. One is what color I want the light to be. Change its color or go through the Kelvin value you give it to determine its color. See 6,500 Kelvin. You see, it has turned this color, and you can change the color by increasing or decreasing the Kelvin. You see that the higher you go, the colder your light becomes. And the lower you go, the warmer your light becomes. Or you can go through the texture to set a map for it that determines the color of your light. Or, just from the same direct input, you can directly assign a color to it. For the Kelvin section, you can search for the Kelvin values of different light sources and enter the same temperature to have the appropriate light. For example, you can look up the Kelvin value of a candle's light. And enter the number to have the color of a candle's light. And in the intensity section, you can set the power of your light, undefined, which is currently 50 here. We can increase it and make its value higher, or lower it depending on what you have in mind. How much brightness the light should have. Naturally, the more you increase the amount, the stronger the light will be. And the lower the amount, the weaker the light will be. And you can even set this number based on candle or lumens or lux. And based on that candle amount, lumens or lux, determine its value for yourself. So that your light source has what amount of power for illumination in the scene. In the shape section, besides sphere, we have rectangle. See that it turns it into a rectangular plane. That you can also change its length and width to whatever you want. And here, there are no segments. We can change its direction, which changes the direction of the light for you. The more the direction goes towards 1, the more directly your light is emitted, and the closer your direction is to 0, the more your light spreads. And in the viewport section, you can also tick or untick wireframe, or change the amount of these gizmos in the direction they exist, increase or decrease it. The next shape it gives you is a disc. You see that it's naturally disc-shaped. and you can use it for halogen lights and the segment and direction sections, which we are now fully familiar with. Besides the disc, you also have a cylinder, which gives you a light cylinder. And you can use it, for example, in moonlight. Its dimensions are clear, and the other options are common. In the on and off section, you can turn it off or have it on in the scene. Of course, when you turn it on, it's on in the scene and its light affects the scene. And if it's off, its light is not present in the scene. The target also sets a target-like mode. It sets a target for us, so that set your lights to be targeted. This target also exists in other sections. Very well, I'll remove the target. Besides the lights we place in the scene like this, there's also an ambient light in the scene. And well, before 3D Max scenes were rendered with the mental ray render engine. If you rendered without placing any lights in the scene, it would display your shapes and place a default light in the scene. And as soon as you placed your own light in the scene, that light would disappear and the new light would illuminate the scene and show its effect. But in V-Ray and Corona or any other render engine, there are no default lights in the scene in your render, unless you place a light. If I delete this light and render the scene, you'll see that nothing is displayed for me in the scene. And as soon as I place my light source and render again, so that that light source is clearly visible. However, its light isn't enough to cover the volume. But in the environment section in 3D Max, we have an option that is displayed for you with the shortcut key 8 on the keyboard. And it's environment and effects. In the environment section, you can, in your background, determine the ambient light of your scene. You can even give it a map, meaning, for example, give it a sky image, or you can yourself choose a color for your scene's ambient light. Okay? Besides these, we mentioned that in the lights section, we also have Corona Sun. Corona Sun is the sun which Corona has provided for you, and you can use it in the scene. It's like this. You click where your sun is placed and drag to determine the target. And then when you release the click, move the mouse to set the sun's height for you and the amount of height you want it to have. It's fine, all of these can be changed and moved. I click on the sun in the modifier, and as you can see, it has an on and off. And you can turn it off and on, just like you had with the Corona light. Or you can remove its target or leave it there. In the Object Excluded section, by clicking this plus sign, you can select anything in the scene that you don't want the sunlight to affect. I remove this. Or, if you click on it, You can select the objects you have in the scene and the effect of the light of the sun on them. We also have intensity here, which shows us the power of sunlight. And the higher it is, the more material burn it will be, meaning the burn that the sun leaves on objects. You can change it. Those who have worked in V-Ray will recognize this as the same burn that exists in V-Ray light. And in the size section, you can adjust the size of your sun up or down. You see that it's not very related to the icon, and they are different. The icon is one thing, and sunlight is another, and the larger your size, the softer your object's shadows will be in the render. So I mentioned two things. One is that the more you increase the value, the more burn there will be on the volumes and materials. And the larger the sun's size, the softer your shadows will be. And in the Add Corona Sky Environment section, if you click this, it will create a sky in the Environment section for you. I press 8, and you see now we don't have a texture here. And if I click Add Corona Sky, it will create a Corona Sky for you in the Environment Map section. And you can have the changes you make to this Corona Skylight environment reflected in the Material section as well. If I press M and open the Material section, I can drag this environment and drop it onto one of the empty materials as an instance, so that any changes I make will also be applied to the Corona Sky. I can now make changes to it and change its color or the color of its ground. Or now whatever I need to do here. Change its horizon blur or its intensity. And besides the light that the sky gives to my work, it can be increased or decreased. And I can also apply changes to its color. In addition to all of these, in the Map section, under Corona, we also have Corona Sky, which is this one. And also we have a Corona Light, which is actually one of the materials of Corona. If we want a light material in the Corona Material section, Corona itself also has a Corona Light MTL, which of course should be used in its proper place. Let me give another explanation. In the Rendering section, under Render Setup, which of course I can't press F10 and F9 because I'm recording, and F10 and F9 are shortcuts that interfere with my recording in the software environment. That's why I have to use this section for rendering. But know that the shortcut for Render Setup is F10, and the shortcut for Render is F9. Okay, in the Render Setup, I mentioned that I go to Renderer and select my render engine. And also, in the View to Render section, it tells me which quad and which viewport it's rendering for me. Any viewport that is active or selected will be used by you as the render viewport. Selects it. But if you want to have a window, for example, a perspective, and you want to make changes in the space so that your render doesn't move, just click this lock, and it will be locked on the perspective. And whatever other viewport you select, it won't change anymore. Okay. We go to the Common and Common Properties section. And we can, in this Output Time section, we determine here what time it should render for us. and it's related to these frames. And for example, we say we want a single frame. And the important part is this output size, where we can tell it what exactly we want to render for us at what dimensions. It has also provided some defaults for you here. Numbers like 800 by 600 pixels and 120 by 240, and different qualities. Naturally, the higher this number goes, the higher the quality and the better render you will have. In addition, it has provided various different sizes for you here. Okay, in the scene section, we have an option called Start Interactive. If we click Interactive, a render window will open for us that shows us an initial render of our work, and we can apply changes to it. And of course, for example, our sun is too bright, so we reduce its brightness. In the render window, you can see that it has provided different sections for you, each of which gives you specific settings and gives you specific capabilities so that you can apply these changes right here on the initial render and then get the final render. This exposure adjusts the light for you, the intensity of the light and the shadows for you. You can see that as I increase or decrease it, it reduces or increases the scene's light for us. Highlight Compress removes those blown out areas for you. And the higher I set it, it changes the blown out areas. Next is White Balance, which has a K inside, which is Kelvin, which changes the warmth or coolness of the scene's light for you. For example, if I set it to 5000, you can see it makes the scene cooler. And if I set it to 7500, you see it makes the scene warmer for you. Contrast, which is characterized by that color difference and the black and white boundary of colors is shown to you. The more contrast there is, it increases, and when the value goes down, the contrast decreases. In the saturation section, it changes the intensity of the colors. You can increase or decrease the intensity of the colors. And now filmic highlight and filmic shadow, which we will explain later. And also LUT and bloom, which we will work with and get acquainted with. In this upper section, we also have Save, Max, Control-C, Refresh, and other options. And one of the options is Region, which when we click it, we can create a section in our render and only render that section. We can move this around or close it, and we can say to only render this section for us. In scenes that are heavy, and you only want to see a section to see what changes have been made to it, you can use this region and not render the entire scene and only see the render of that section. That's it for this section. I'll close this for now. There are no specific explanations until we come back and give more explanations about different sections. In this render element section, you can also apply different elements and in fact apply different filters and see them in your render. For example, as I click Add, and from these various options, for example, select See Masking and go back and activate Interactive Scene again. You see that it places C masking in this section for me. C masking, as you can see, it shows the volume with one color and the scene with another color. Has been placed, which we can use in different ways in Photoshop. For example, or in the alpha section. The part where light has hit and reflected, and the part that has no light. It has separated for us. Very good. This is also from this section. From the next session, we will start with a scene we worked on together and give it a basic material so that this introductory part can be completed. I hope that you enjoyed this session as well. Goodbye.